Well, let's look at this. Diamond Diagnosis Center is your ultra-modern diagnostic center which specializes in the treatment of fibroid. Our competent and well-trained staff will ensure that you undergo the treatment of fibroid without any operation under hygienic conditions, and the application of modern technologies all in our practice. Well, we are located at Okponglo Junction here in Accra and TUC in Kumasi. You want to call us, please do so through the following numbers: 0243176119 or 020-751-5623 or 027-332-7054. Diameg Diagnosis Center. We treat fibroid without any operation. Now let's talk sports medicine. You may have heard about injuries that, well, befall artists, etc. But all this means that you need to be in a good state of mind and a good state of health. It means your body just needs to be right. You may also have heard of the latest news about one Patrick Ekem, who collapsed on a pitch over the weekend. And he plays for Dynamo Bucharest in Romania. But before him, that very fate had befallen a lot more of the sports personalities of footballers across the world. Is it a phenomenon that happens often? But even if it's not often that it happens and happens sporadically, what does it mean? And so this morning we're talking sports medicine with our big sports physician we have in the studio, Dr. Prince Pambo. We're talking about the do's and don'ts in medical practice, especially in sports medicine. Then we'll veer off into the subject of the May 9th stadium disaster, etc. Thanks for joining me, Prince.
Thanks for having me.
Okay. Prince is okay?
Yes, of course.
Okay. Dr. Prince. All right.
No, Prince is just fine.
Yeah, Prince. But at the end of the day, it's how you need to be in a good state of mind, a good state of health, your body, etc. How would you know whether you're right or not all right before you enter onto a football pitch or onto a track, etc. to perform?
Yeah, thank you so much, and I'm quite delighted to be here. I think the area of sports medicine is quite an interesting one, and it could be challenging. I mean, just before I entered the studio, I was having a chat with one of your ladies who was finding out whether I was enjoying sports medicine. When you get it wrong, you will not enjoy it. When you get it right, you enjoy it. So it's a mixed feeling. And the area you started with, which is this sudden cardiac death issue, it's one of my babies, or it's a passion I enjoy. Currently, I'm involved in the research work with some German counterparts, trying to figure out what's the difference between the heart of a Ghanaian or a black athlete or footballer compared to that of a Caucasian or a white. The issues of sudden cardiac death, the prevalence is quite higher among blacks. I mean, if you go to the US, where we have a lot of it, it's actually among the black
athletes,
black Americans who play basketball. And then I realized that the criteria we use to interpret the ECGs, I mean, we expect, or FIFA expects, and IOC expects that before a player takes part in any form of sports or sporting discipline, you should go through medical screening, and then emphasis is placed on your heart, because we believe that's the engine house. That's quite the unit that propels you into action. And then to interpret it, there is a standard, and I realized that this standard was derived from research work that was done among Caucasians. So we then had a feeling that it's possible something is missing when it comes to the adaptation of our heart to physical activity, and for that matter, somebody could just drop dead suddenly. So yes, the expectation is that before you embark on any sporting activity, beginning of the season, as we know, all the athletes, all the footballers will have to go through a thorough medical screening, where your weight, your height, history is taken, family history is taken. We do lab works, and then we check your heart using the ECG and the echo, just to be able to tell that this person is fit to go. The tricky bit of it is that we've had people playing in the Premiership, people play top flight basketball, and still drop dead. So somebody will ask, does that mean they didn't do what you're asking us to do? Unfortunately, they have done all of that. I mean, the case of Fabrice Muamba, I mean, just finished all his medicals and was declared fit. unfortunate thing about cardiac diseases is that one of the first symptom or the sign you might see is death. So the time you get to know that you have a cardiac problem, you are probably dead. So then people ask the question, then is it worth it doing the medicals? Because you are now telling us you can do the medicals and still not be able to find out something that can trigger a sudden cardiac arrest. But we also argue that the number of lives we are able to save by doing the screening is actually more than those who are dying. So most of the screening we do, you are able to tell that, I mean, sometimes even just from the family history, you are able to tell that, okay, this person is coming from a family where dad, mom, somebody has dropped dead before in the family. You do a screening and you realize that there's something, I mean, the commonest one we call is hypertrophic cardiomyopathy. It's common in this family. Then we are able to tell this player, okay, then you need to go through some further investigations to prevent you from being able to, to prepare you better to be able to apply your trade. So I think the issue of going through routine medical screening is quite an important one.
But while you go through and then, let's say you're watching a match, or if not, even somebody trains, it could be ordinary people who train, and then they get home or on the pitch, they just drop dead. Even if they're not dead at that point in time, eventually they die off. Can we have attributable causes to that?
Yes, some of the attributable causes. I mean, let me start with the normal population, because I believe we have a lot more people dying out of cardiac arrest, I mean, in the normal population than the sports person.
Sure.
I'm not sure we've heard today that anybody had died in Romania, but I can tell you more than 100 people will die today. But this gentleman dropped, dead on the pitch. It's world news. So what we say is that when one sports person dies, it's new. I mean, it's news and it goes round. So the general population, what I normally tell people, before your doctors will tell you that, yes, you need to start some physical activity program, you also need to do your medical checks, number one. Then you need to listen to your body very well. This is something I keep telling people. Because a few people who made it out of a cardiac arrest, when you ask them further, they will tell you that moments before that, I noticed I was getting breathless. I noticed I was getting dizzy. I noticed I was sweating profusely. Or even before coming to start the activity, I had a little cough, and I just thought that I could go through it. So my advice for the general population is that listening to your body, under no circumstance should you do any kind of physical activity or sport if you're not feeling well. We have cases where people have a common cold, you go and exercise and then it turns into something else, and then myocarditis and all the things will come in and then you drop dead. So there are associated things that can cause it. Of course, things like even having not taken the right meal or not eating at all. So there are people who drop dead on the pitch because we think cardiac arrest is the commonest one. You go and find out that it's even hypoglycemia. Hypoglycemia being that the person hasn't eaten any food. A number of sudden collapse we see, for instance, in Ghana among our sports people, you go and find out that just before the match, the player was quite anxious and couldn't eat anything, or somebody was even fasting because his pastor has told him to fast and pray about a particular game, and goes into the game and collapse. So those issues are there. We have the issue of heat as well, where one sweats to the point of completely dehydrated. That could also be a contributory factor to one dropping dead suddenly on the pitch. And of course, whatever I've just said for the normal population applies to our sporting persons. But then with our sporting persons, because they exercise at a very high intensity, my advice would rather go to the medical team. I mean, you should observe your players very well, even in the dressing room before they get on the pitch. Try and talk to everybody to find out that everybody is poised, and then also to advise the sports person to be, to have a good relationship with their medical team, to open up and be able to tell them anything they feel. And of course, to the coaches, there's no point putting anybody who is not well to play a game.
The clubs in a breachery, the clubs, Charlie, the facilities, perfect.
Right.
Even to the point where they are on loan, they have to come back to their parent club to be treated because their facilities are better.
Yeah. Yeah.
But in our part of the world, Charlie, the clubs can't just.
I mean, I've mentioned this over and over that
they don't have their own health facility. They have to take you to a private medical place. You don't even know whether it's a correct.
I mean, the level of development of the club medical system just reflects what our system, our medical system or health system is in the country. For instance, I mean.
So you're saying if our health system is better, the club system too would have been better?
Obviously, I mean, the clubs aren't able to even afford to have doctors on their bench. In the first place, if they are looking for sports medicine doctors, we are only just about 3 in the country who are so busy that none of us can actually want to be on the bench of a particular club.
So
they can't even pay for your services.
For an ordinary medical doctor.
In fact, they can't even afford the services of an ordinary medical doctor. And even, I don't know if there's anything called ordinary medical doctor anyway.
Well, let's say a normal physician.
That's right.
Who has not specialized
in sports medicine.
That's what I mean.
And the point is, even in their areas of specialty, they are equally busy. I mean, if you take the doctor-patient ratio, I don't know if you have a fair idea, but then averagely in Ghana, depending on which part of the country you live, averagely it's 1 doctor to 20,000. If you happen to live around Accra and probably towards Kumasi, you probably 1 doctor to 11,000. But if you go up north where I come from, it's about 1 doctor to about 30,000 people. You know, so when that doctor is on a particular team bench and want to dedicate all the time to that, then you can be sure of the pressure somewhere. So I think this is what reflected. I mean, I just came from a conference, and if you hear what clubs have, like you just said, I mean, the amount of money that goes into the medical systems of Barcelona alone, it will support our entire health ministry budget in this country for a year. So we can only pray that authorities will appreciate the role of sports, and then also appreciate the fact that if we give equal importance to what happens behind the scenes to get the players to be able to come and play, then we will see something better. So we should not neglect the little things we need to do to get these players fit.
But in the whole sports arena, they do that with, or their activities are complemented by supporters as well, who also get physical.
Yes.
Because they kind of do, and
sure.
We know we're talking May 9 and the things that happened, but it means that the supporters also, they need to take a close look at.
Very important. I mean, and they exert themselves. I mean, we just had one of the biggest games ever. Accra Hearts of Oak playing Kotoko. I think for a long time, I saw the stadium was very full. I was there myself. Unfortunately, we even lost another supporter in that game. He didn't die at the stadium, neither did the score line being the reason for his death. What I can conclude was the fact that probably this person had an underlying problem that he didn't also know. So not to blame anybody for that. I personally saw him and attended to him, and then thought that he should be referred to a hospital to be taken care of, and only to hear the sad news that the following day he passed. And of course, it was a cardiac issue because he came dizzy and later fainting, finding it difficult to breathe, and we did all the resuscitations and managed to get him to hospital. The hospitals, I must say, I should congratulate the doctors at the Ridge Hospital and their medical director, Dr. Anna, but they did all they could, and the following day, this person went. You could attribute it to sports. I got to the stadium at 11. The match was supposed to be at 3:30, and supporters come there, they sit in the sun, they will sing throughout till that time, they forget to eat. In fact, I had to sit in my car for about 30 minutes to eat food in my car because I knew the match is going to start 3:30. I would have to be the last person leaving the stadium. The match is going to be ending around 5:30.
You were the medical person.
That's right. For the venue, so for the match. So obviously, I had to ensure that everybody leaves the stadium before I leave, because it's one of the recommendations of the Okujato Commission that investigated the May 9, 2001 issue that, the medical team should be the last team to leave the stadium. So I thought that, no, if I don't eat, then I'll be missing something. So most of these supporters come there because of the excitement. They actually forget to eat. Because of the excitement, some of them come under the influence and alcohol. And I can see the question is, what are some of the things we expect these supporters to be doing and should not be doing? Number one, you should know your health status before coming to the stadium. Health status, I don't mean you should go and check whether you have HIV/AIDS or any chronic sickness. I mean, there's nothing written anywhere saying that if you have high blood pressure, don't come to the stadium, or if you have diabetes, don't come to the stadium. But you should have an idea. Okay, Heart Kotoko match is coming on. Heart is going to play Chelsea. I'm going to be watching that game. Or there's going to be athletics at Elwak. I'm going to be watching. So just before that, you should be able to go check your blood pressure, check your sugar status, if you have any of these conditions, to know that at least you are fit. I mean, you don't have any malaria-like symptoms playing, and then you go there happily. Make sure you eat and eat well. I'm quite skeptical to mention the issue of whether you should drink or you should not drink alcohol, because I've had people coming at me. But I think alcohol sometimes impairs one's judgment a bit. So if for that 90 minutes or that particular half of the day that you're going to be at the stadium, if you could stay off alcoholic beverages, I mean, I think it will help. I'm not too sure, but I think along the line, the commission also mentioned that the sale of alcohol at the various stadia should be banned. I'm not too sure whether we are very successful with implementing this particular issue that came up, but it's one of the things we need to look at. I mean, there's no point doing it. And then also, we also advise that, I mean, once you come there, any kind of feeling, because this person who passed, I think, was advised by friends that, oh, once you're feeling dizzy, you should see the medical team and all that. So if you come to the stadium and you begin, I mean, you start feeling any way funny, there are always the paramedics, the ambulance is always packed. If you don't know where the medical team is, just walk towards the ambulance and report that this is how you are feeling. I mean, if you have to leave the grounds and then go back home, I think it will be something that will help. And in our part of the world, I would advise that you need to hydrate a lot by drinking a lot of fluid, not beer, but water, to keep the system going. And then, of course, should there be a crowd-related issue, I would advise that you find an open space where you can help yourself before attempting to want to help others. I mean, you probably not, I mean, if you're in an aeroplane, normally they will tell you, I mean, if there's an incident, even if your baby is sitting on your lap, save yourself before helping that child. You know, so it cuts across in every disaster issue. You, the person rescuing, should be safe first. And if I use football as a typical example, or the issue of May 9th, if there's anything like that, your best point off is to rush to the center of the park. After all, the game is going to be stopped. So rush to the center of the pitch. If the emergency people show you the exit routes and the exit routes are free, then you can make your way.
Anyway, for May 9, the police were at the center of the park. So I don't know. The supporters definitely couldn't have gone to the center of the park.
No, they could have. I wasn't there on the day, but I've watched this over and over. I've actually done some write-up on this. I don't think it was an issue of the police versus the crowd. I mean, of course the police wanted to make sure there was peace somewhere, and calm. I mean, so there was. I don't think any policeman was going to sack any fan if the person had rushed to the middle of the pitch. I mean, I think obviously this was going to help reduce the number of casualties, unless of course you were going to the center of the pitch with a missile in hand to go and attack the police. But obviously what we are seeing, I mean, they are running through an exit which I think is probably too small for the size of persons. And I think that was one of the things that led to several deaths. In other countries where there have been this kind of disaster, the same thing happened, where they used exits that were not too wide, and then the stampede alone led to the death of so many people. So the best bet is to always find where there is. I mean, you shouldn't be in a rush to leave the premises unless, of course, it's
find an isolated place and keep calm.
That's right.
And make sure that everything dies down.
That's right. I mean, and if you don't have the expertise to help, I mean, I think your best form of help is to kneel down and offer a prayer for the dying souls. Don't attempt going to help when you don't have the expertise. You might just end up harming yourself.
But it means that you closely work with FIFA?
Yes, please.
Okay.
Yes.
So how do we make sure that these things that are important in sports medicine are replicated across the football associations in countries?
I think this is one of the reasons why some of us are involved with FIFA. I kind of represent FIFA and its medical research in Ghana, and then of course some other countries in Africa. And the reason FIFA gets itself into a lot of research is that it's out of the result of research then you'll be able to bring about things that can change the issue. For instance, I told you I'm involved in a project that is looking at the heart of a footballer and what is different with we blacks. And of course, this is being sponsored by FIFA. I mean, they put in a lot of money into the issue of research, and then also they have provided what we call the AED, okay, to all 204 member associations. AED is a defibrillator which can be used to resuscitate people when they are on the pitch, and they encourage member associations to also put money into research to come up with things that will, lead to good health of footballers. So yes, those policies are there. The issue.
Do we do some in Ghana?
We do. We've
are you
done.
Sure? The
yes.
GFA.
Yes, the GFA.
They publish a report.
We have done.
You have commissioned a study for that.
We have done some research work into
GFA?
injuries. GFA Medical Committee, which I am part of.
You are part?
Yes,
Wow.
yes. So we have done some work in the area of injuries and the prevalence of injuries in our Premiership. I think it was 2011-2012 soccer season, where we were able to come out to tell that one of the prevalent injuries in our league was ankle injuries, and then the leading cause of the ankle injuries was bad pitches and then bad officiating. And the report of this particular research has been made known to the executives, and of course steps are being taken to ensure that pitches are inspected and then put in right. Roland, one of the things we need to always consider is that we are a country at a particular level, and when we want to push all the fine buttons, we might be shooting ourselves, in the sense that we can't afford, as of now as a nation, to have grade A pitches all over the country. I mean, once you push for that, then you're probably going to knock out some less privileged part of the country from being part of a sport which everybody enjoys.
The sports facility is a sports facility. It doesn't have to be...
You don't have to compromise.
It doesn't always have to be located in an area which is plush. You could have
Yes.
a very poor area having a very good sports facility.
I mean, you talk about the issue of...
Is it not that because we're not collating enough resources to get the best facilities?
I think because we probably don't have enough of the resources, not that we are not collating that, we don't have enough
But if we
of
want
it.
to pool
Probably.
resources, we can do that.
We can. I mean, when
Let's say
you're
have
pooling,
some of the best sports facilities in all the 10 regions. We can.
we can. So it has to come from the level of policy, and that level of policy comes even beyond the Ministry of Youth and Sports, because the Youth and Sports Ministry is given a budget to work with. So that goes far beyond the Ghana Football Association or Ghana Olympic Committee, because it's, if you go to United Kingdom, the provision of leisure centers, parks for people to do recreation and all that, it's not a duty of the English FA, it's a duty of the government.
Council.
Yes.
Or even the council.
Yes, the various counties they have. So they do that. And then, of course, the rich clubs are also able to do that because they put in investment. I think, Roland, the issue we have in our country is that we are not paying realistic charges for what we want to enjoy. I mean, if you
don't get you.
I mean, if you look at what is being charged for people to watch football games in the country, and half of the people actually in the stadium go free because somebody is somebody, and those who can afford to pay are the ones who don't pay. And I know what I'm saying. The various owners of clubs are happy to hear that. I mean, you can see the stadium full, and when they declare the amount of money they have made from that particular
Based
game,
on the rates, you'll be surprised.
that's right. Somebody pays
You
5
are saying
cities.
that the big men, rather, they go on complimentary.
Of course, because you are happy that
And
that
that is
big man.
detrimental to getting enough resources for the clubs
That's
to
right.
reinvest into
That's
some
right.
other areas.
I think we get the issue of complimentary quite wrong in the country. Before I give you a complimentary pass, Roland, then I know you are in the position to give me $100,000 for me to
Let's say
expand
for the year.
facilities for the year. You know, so Roland.
So when I'm giving you a compliment, I know that it's because
you paid for it in advance.
yeah.
You understand? But these are people, they will take the complimentary, and sometimes if you don't take time, they might take TNT from you. And I know the club managers are aware of this issue. Yes.
Reminds me. But anyway, so May 9 disaster has passed. But
Yeah.
If we take a cue from what happened in the United Kingdom, now after 20 years, they've been able to publish a report and say, of course, the police are responsible, blah, blah, blah. But it also means that there's some level of responsibility on the clubs, on the administrators, on the supporters, and also those who make sure that the venues are available.
That's right.
And secure.
That's right. Yes. And I think
how does that dovetail into the subject of sports medicine?
Yes. You see, until we come to the point where...
Is it a safety issue, sports medicine?
Yes, it is. It is. I mean, sports and exercise medicine, and there's an emergency component of it. I think we've not had very good collaboration between the Ministry of Youth and Sport and the Ministry of Health, I mean, in this country. And until we get ourselves there, we might be having some of these lapses. I mean, we have emergency medicine units. I mean, we have specialty areas, doctors who are trained in the area of emergency medicine as well. And we need to have this good collaboration. We have spoken to various clubs that if you are playing a home match, you need to make contact with the National Ambulance Service in that city, and they need to be present to render their service. We have told all our match commissioners that if you go to Techiman City to commission a match, the first thing you should inspect is not the pitch, because whatever you do, you can't change the pitch. But if you do not see an ambulance parked, don't start the match. And you have the full backing of FIFA if you do not start the match. I mean, when we play international matches, the match commissioners who have flown down to come and commission it, they'll come inspecting the facilities. First thing, they'll ask you for an ambulance. If you don't find it, you don't commission people to start a game.
Well, thank you very much. Thanks for passing through the studio as always. We're grateful. We hope that we can have some time to discuss thoroughly the subjects of sports medicine and how our country we can incorporate that. I really love the thing you talked about, recreational parks.
Yeah, sure.
I think it's something that we need to do. But Dr. Prince Pombo is a specialist sports physician, and he's been helping us look at the medical do's and don'ts, especially now that we're marking 15 years when the main 9 stadium disaster happened. And we hope that we can have him sometime in the studios for us to thoroughly discuss sports medicine in our country.